put this one around you, but it's a little small.
I'm Tom, very grateful addict. And this meeting goes to 11:30, and there's another speaker, so I'm going to be signaled when I have 5 minutes left, so I don't go a minute over it, because that is very rude to do. I want to give Rose her time too, so I probably got about 45, I probably got about 40 minutes to speak, so please let me know. Anyway, what a privilege to be, speaking here this morning. The theme of the convention this weekend is spiritual growth, and this is the spiritual meeting. And I can honestly say that anything I talk about in my recovery that's happening, that has happened, has everything to do with that. Because there is nothing else that I'm on this planet for than to grow spiritually. And I am now awake enough to know that every experience that comes my way is only there for me to, have a closer contact with my higher power. I do not have a punishing God today. I have a God that is loving me right now, in this moment. And I've learned and I've come to believe through the 11th step that right now in this moment is all I have. If I project to next Friday, to next month, to tomorrow, I go there all by myself. And that's why I get crazy. My God lives and loves me and cares for me now. So I know that everything that comes my way today is an absolute blessing if I choose to approach it with love instead of fear. And I have that choice today. Sometimes I don't. But if I go into the fear, I know it right away because I get very disturbed and very crazy. And I really want to thank, Ronnie S. and Kim. Ronnie spoke Friday night. It just touched my heart very much. I was doing H&I since 1984. I've been going into prisons on a steady basis since 1984, and that man inspired me and helped me with my program when he was in prison. I knew him the whole time he was in there. I used to come home and tell B about him. I used to come out of that prison meeting floating down Main Street. Because of him, because of that man. It was such a privilege to hear him speak, because I've been doing H&I for so long, and I see so many guys go back in, and to see somebody get it, wow, what a gift. There's nothing better in recovery than seeing somebody get it. Because we can't wave a magic wand, all we can do is share. And everybody's got to go through their stuff, and those that get it, we're in this room, we've all got it right now, right this moment. And my message, if I have any message, do anything it takes to hang on to the gift. Because right now we've got a gift. We're clean. There's a lot of weird stuff happening in the world. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens before that happened, you know what I mean? And I'm staying clean through it all. And I want to continue to. And I'm convinced that it's not guaranteed I'm clean the rest of my life. I celebrated 30 years clean last Saturday. And I hope to make it another 30, and I will one day at a time. One day at a time, contingent on this spiritual way of life I have been given to live. And I've got it, and Kim, she would just, what a message, thank you so much. It was just so powerful last night. She talked about the steps, and she's talked about working the steps. I'm a step militant. You know what I mean? I got to share with you that when I was about 12 or 13 years clean, 14 years clean, whatever, I went through a divorce. And as Bill Feen was talking about yesterday, through desperation and pain, I was forced into the steps again. In that time before that, I worked the steps. I would get crazy and over something or somebody, usually a woman or something, and I'd be in a lot of pain, and I'd be backed up against the wall, and I'd go write a fourth step, and I'd go and share it. I'd do a fifth, and it would help. But the one thing I didn't do is I didn't start on step 1 and end up on step 12. And at about 13 years clean, I went through a divorce, and it devastated me, and it forced me back into the steps. And what happened is I started on step 1. And I ended up on step 12. And my life went through a transformation that I can't even tell you about, and it hasn't stopped since then. And you know what? I haven't stopped working the steps since then. Kim begged the people with multiple years to keep working the steps. I'm here to stand up and tell you that I have 30 years clean, and I still write out the steps. I still have a sponsor, and I go through the steps. I write them out. I never think I do it right to this day. I have never written out a step that I thought I got in touch with anything. You know what I mean? Nothing. But I go and read it, and all I know is that something happens. Something happens in that process with a sponsor. And I change. When these 12, the most powerful thing happened back in the 30s, before and these 12-step programs came about. And it's my favorite thing in the world to say, because it's what I know has to be ongoing today. And that's an addict like me and you went to a very famous psychiatrist. And he said, I need help. And this guy was an instrument. He was a channel. And he said, I can't help you. But I've seen people change that have gone through a profound personality change brought on by a spiritual experience. And that's why these 12 steps were divinely written. Working these 12 steps brings on a profound personality change because of a spiritual experience. And I believe this addict has to keep going through that profound personality change. My life is about spiritual growth. Growth means change. I'm really convinced that I'm either going to be going backwards or forward. There's no complaint. There's no standing still in this program. I'm either working one or I'm not. We come into these rooms and we go through the steps with a sponsor a couple times. We're around these rooms. We hear the message a million times. You know what? Automatically, we start living the steps. And we're supposed to do that. Automatically, we live the steps. But there's a difference in working the steps. I'm one that believes I have to work the steps. I don't have it together. I never will have it together. And I want more of what this thing has to offer. So I have chosen to keep working these 12 steps with a sponsor. And I'm telling you, if you're not doing it, you're cheating yourself. You're the only one missing out. And what happened to me at 14 years clean, when I was in so much pain and I was driven by desperation, as Bill F. was talking about yesterday, driven by desperation to work these steps. That's what happened. I can guarantee you today I work the steps and my life is full of joy. And you can imagine, if you can work the steps when you're in total desperation and it works, what's going to happen if you work the steps when life is just blissful? You know what I mean? It works. It's fabulous. You know what I mean? It's wonderful. It's not always easy to do, like I said. I stall around and procrastinate as much as my sponsees do about doing them. But I do them, they do them, and I'm blessed, like somebody said the other day. When I go through the steps with somebody, it helps me. This is a beautiful day for me. I'm getting to share here. I started off the day by getting up early, practicing my 11th step, which I do every day without fail. Quiet time with my higher power. you know, and I think that's the only way that I can form a relationship with this higher power, is to spend time with it and listen and commune with this higher power. That's how it works for me. After I did that, I went and listened to a fifth step this morning early. You know, I'm blessed. That was a blessing to do. And it was funny because he's a sponsee of mine, and he started out going, when he was writing, I don't know if I want to do this session of steps because my life's going so good and I don't want to disturb anything and interrupt anything, you know what I mean? And I just had, you know, it only gets better. You know what I mean? And I mean it gets better. You know, Tom M. and I, years ago, and we were saying, you know, we had, our recovery was in the we were teenagers in the recovery, you know, we were in the 13s, 14, 15 years, whatever, and we were saying, God, if it's this good now, what is it going to be like in another 15? Well, it's really good. You know? It's really good, and we talk about it a lot on the phone. I mean, sometimes we talk on the phone, we just go, God, we're so blessed. How did this happen? You know what I mean? It happened because we've been showing up in these rooms and doing this stuff and willing to be vulnerable. You know, and I know when I'm off the beam. You know, I know when, like I said, I believe everything is a beautiful challenge to me. Everything, no matter what it, and we also have said, we say this too, that I can look back now. I have been suicidal in recovery. I have been kicking and screaming. I have walked the beach and told God, up your divine bucket, if this is spiritual growth, I don't want any more. You know, I've had it. But the one thing I did do is I came to meetings and told you people that too. I kept coming back. You know, I screamed, I kicked, I hurt. I didn't think I was ever going to make it. But I kept showing up. But with all that said and done, I'll guarantee, and we both say this, we look back, nothing bad has ever happened to me in recovery. Because in hindsight, I see what happened as I walked through that stuff. And I stayed clean, I came to meetings, I shared, I worked with a sponsor. And now I look back and I say, wow, if that hadn't happened, then that wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? In hindsight, I can say, nothing bad has ever happened. And now I know that everything that happens to me is always going to be a blessing. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. The first hour the doctor told me, I was bummed out. You know, totally bummed out. You know, how can this happen? I've been a vegetarian since 1967. I'm a marathon runner. I'm the healthiest guy I know. You know what I mean? It just didn't, I mean, yes, I was a heroin addict. I was a vegetarian telling people not to eat meat, shooting heroin. You know, I was one of those guys. Because I've been a vegetarian for 35 years and I've only been clean for 30, so you just put it together, you know what I mean? But it didn't make any sense, you know. I'm not supposed to get cancer. I'm like this example of health, you know what I mean? So I was bummed out. But what I did within an hour, and this is the grace of the program, it might have been 2 hours, but it was within an hour or two, all of a sudden I just went, wow. I remembered what Tom and I talked about all the time. Nothing bad's ever happened. So why is this bad? It's not. It's going to be a blessing. It's going to lead me to something beautiful. And you know what else? I had just finished a third step. And the session of steps I was taking that's the neat thing also about doing steps when you're feeling good. You can pick really groovy things to go through them on, you know what I mean? You know, but I was doing a session steps on learning more kindness and compassion in my life. So I just did a third step, turned everything over to this loving, wonderful higher power that adores me and blesses me continuously. And I said, I want to learn more kindness and compassion. And then I found out I had cancer. Can you think of a better way to learn compassion for others? Within 2 hours, my name was Tom, and I've got cancer. And that's how I went through it. I said, this is going to be, my wife and I started calling it the cancer adventure. We said, let's see where this will take us. You know, what beautiful, wonderful thing is going to come out of this experience. Because I knew in my gut that that's what life's about. That this would bring me closer, more intimacy in my life with others and with God. You know, and the adventure's still on. I am cancer-free today, you know. But I just, you know, this program has taught me to approach my life like that. To know that I do have a loving God. You know, and I know when I get bummed. I know when I get, it's like Kim was saying, I'm still in these rooms because I don't have it together. I just told you that. I'm still working the steps because I don't have it together. But, you know, I've got a barometer today, you know. You know, just yesterday, I mean, you know, I knew I was speaking this morning. It's just real important for me to feel good about my life if I'm going to come speak at the spiritual meeting. It just, I mean, it kind of helps a little bit. You know what I mean? But I went through a thing with somebody yesterday. Actually, I mean, you know, this woman I, you know, have been doing some business with the last few years and stuff. And she came and wanted to get some feelings out, wasn't feeling comfortable about some stuff. And I have a tendency to be pretty, you know, intense. You know what I mean? And a couple of times I like interrupted her, you know, and went, hey, now wait a minute, you know, that isn't right. It's because of this, you know. And I'm famous for doing that with my wife. You know what I mean? She tried, and I have to, you know, I wasn't listening. You know what I mean? And I went back to my room after that, and I just felt horrible. I'm not kidding. I was like totally disturbed. I came back and told B, I said, you know, I'm just really bummed right now. This just happened, and I did this, and you know, and I had to call and make, you know, I said, I just had to make amends for that. Not necessarily, I'm not saying everything's healed about her feelings, but I had to make amends for being interrupting, not being compassionate enough to listen. You know what I mean? But I knew I had to do that because I felt so disturbed inside. And that's my barometer today. You know, I can't walk through life. In other words, you know what I did? You know why I did that? Because I got in fear. I started coming from fear when she was doing that. And if I come from fear, I do, you know, it's not the right way to approach my life, you know. And I know I got to come from love in all incidences. And you know that, and that's what this program's absolutely teaching me, is to do that. And I mean, I love this program. I love working the steps, you know, and I love it because it teaches me. You know, one time, about 10, 15, I don't know, it was 12 years ago, it was whatever, I lose track of time, but I did a session of steps on the 11th step. That was my subject of the steps, the 11th step. And I thought, God, when I go through this, when I get done with this step, and I'm going to start seeing angels in my 11th step. You know what I mean? I'm going to see the white light. The whole universe is going to turn, you know, and I'm just going to be blissed out all the time. Because I thought I'm going to get free. Because it's guaranteed me if I work the steps on any certain subject, I'll get free. And I can tell you that does happen. If you work the steps on something, you'll get free. But what happened is that I did get free with the 11th step. What I did is I just got free and I accepted the 11th step for what it was in my life. And what it tells me to do in this program is to show up. You know, it tells me I sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God. Like I said, that's the only way. The only way I have a wonderful relationship with my wife is that I spend time with her and I talk to her and we do things together and we communicate. And that's why our relationship is so loving and beautiful. I mean, it's just the best thing in the world. I mean, I want to say it's not it is a perfect marriage. It can't, you know, it doesn't mean we don't have problems, but it's a perfect marriage. We have, you know, we go through stuff, but it is perfect because I spend a lot of time with her and talk to her and, you know, and just tell her everything that's going on inside of me. Sometimes it's more than she wants to know, to tell you the truth, but but, you know, I mean, I know I have to do that with my higher power too. I really do. So going through the 12 steps on the 11th step, what it did, it gave me an acceptance. And I got back to the basic thing of what it was about. It was about showing up in the morning. It was about sitting and being. And it was about not caring if my head was doing 8 million different things. You know what I mean? I'm a meditator every day, and I'm also ADHD. So how do you like that? You know what I mean? It can be done, you know? I just don't take all those thoughts that serious. I just let them go nuts, you know what I mean? And all I know is I'm just supposed to show up. And I get very, you know, I just think the 11th step is what the program's about to me. After all the times I'm going through the steps, what I've come to is the 11th step is the most important thing in our program. That the first 10 steps absolutely prepare me for the 11th step. And the 12th step is just a summary of what just happened. You know what I mean? And I just believe that I have to do that thing, and I don't try to analyze how I do it anymore. You know, we have a 3-bedroom house, and one of the bedrooms, that's what it is. It's a meditation room, you know, and I'm very airy-fairy about it, but that's not what you have to do. But I think it's very important to go to the same spot every day and sit. You know, whether it's just a chair, whether it's in your bathroom, where it is, you know what I mean? I'm blessed to have a house with an extra bedroom, and I can do that, you know, and I have huge crystals everywhere and incense going and candles, you know, but that's just, I get very out there with it, and it's just what I do, you know what I mean? It's not what's necessary to do, but I do believe we need to show up, you know, and sit. And I've said this before, too. I know we all like to read our little meditation book. You know, and I do that every day when I'm going to the bathroom. I have all these little meditation books. But that's not what meditation is to me. You know what I mean? If that's all I'm going to give God, I'm not going to have much of a relationship with Him. You know, hey, God, I'm pooping. Let's see what you got to say here. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I've really got to take the thing serious. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be here today, and neither would Tom McCall, if it wasn't for the 11th step. God, I can't stop crying. Love it. But I lived on the North Shore of Oahu, and I've got to honor my sponsor. My first sponsor. I lived on the North Shore of Oahu in the 60s, and I was a full-on dope fiend. You know, I shot heroin, coke, I shot anything, you know, Vin Rosé wine, no-dose tablets, it didn't matter, you know what I mean? I wasn't a big dealer, you know what I mean? I just got, if it was there, I did it, you know, and I took lots of LSD for spiritual reasons, and because Tim Leary said it was okay, you know, and he died of prostate cancer, actually, so there you go. But anyway, I was living out in the North Shore, and you know, one day this lady appeared, and I lived one house back from this beautiful beach house right on the ocean, and all of a sudden this lady appeared one day, and there was this buzz going around the neighborhood that this woman was there, and what happened is this woman was in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. There was no NA in Hawaii at that time, and what she did is every morning she meditated from about 3 in the morning until 5 or 6. Every morning, 2 or 3 hours a morning, and wrote in a journal. And she lived her life by what God told her to do. She had no money, nothing. I saw her go around the world twice without a cent to her name. And one day she was in Kaneohe. She lived in Kaneohe. For those that don't live in Hawaii, that's about 40 miles from the North Shore. And there was like a halfway house there. She was working, you know, helping the drunks. And God told her to go to the North Shore that morning. If I don't stop crying, I won't be able to talk and finish my talk. But anyway, she showed up at this house, this empty house, this 4-bedroom house on the beach, because God led her right to that spot. And she reached up and found the key above the door. And she went in. And there was a buzz going around the neighborhood. That weekend, the real estate person came out to show the house to somebody, and he walks in, and there she is. And he said, "What are you doing here?" You know what I mean? This is like breaking and entering, you know. And she said, "God told me to come here. Can you please have the electricity turned on?" You know. Well, she lived in that house for 6 months because God did tell her to go there. And she started a meeting, and I went to it. And I found out I had the disease of addiction. That all happened because she practiced her 11th step. And I can never speak without sharing the next part of the story because I do it every time. I went back, and my friend Tom McCall that I used to shoot dope with, and we did everything, and he had just gotten out of a mental institution. And he came over to my house, and he couldn't talk. He stuttered, and he was just really bad. And he said, I want to go to Hawaii. And I'd been living in Hawaii for several years, and I said, okay, you got to go to the North Shore, and I did. I had actually stayed clean a couple of weeks, and I had actually done a 4th step with her, which consisted of writing down 11 fears. That's how deep I got, you know what I mean? But at least I did something, you know what I mean? I said I'm scared to be surfing in the water by myself because a shark might get me, I mean, I was so insecure and scared, but that was what I got in touch with. But anyway, I stayed clean a couple weeks. I had been introduced to the program. I came back, and he wanted to go to Hawaii, and I said, well, you go to the North Shore. That's where everybody goes. It's the cool place to be. It's where the waves are. Everybody's there. And I told him about this lady, Flowbird. And I said, I told him about the program. But he didn't really, I wasn't carrying a very clear message as we were probably shooting dope, you know what I mean? And so he knew there was this alcoholic on the New North Shore, but he thought, well, maybe if I get in trouble, she's a lush and I can go sleep with her or something, but shack up with her or something. No, but anyway, so he gets out to the North Shore. He comes to Hawaii, and he lands and he hitchhikes, and by the time he gets out there, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's really country then. And he went right to Sunset Beach, and he goes down on the beach, and he goes to sleep, and he wakes up the next morning, and he just, he's got some drugs with him, but he's just like, God, here I am, I'm in Hawaii, I'm strung out, what am I going to do? And it's not this little tiny island you can ride a bicycle around, and he's just going, what have I done? You know what I mean? I'm just, he's waking up under a tree down on the beach, and meantime, Flowbird about a mile away, and she's doing her thing, you know what I mean? 3 in the morning, meditating, and God tells her, go to Sunset Point right now. Can you believe that? It's that direct when we get clear, people. It's that direct. Our life can be guided that directly. We can always be in the right place at the right time if we listen. If we get the distractions, if we get the self out of the way and get the fear out of the way and get the separation out of the way, we can listen. And we can be channels. So anyway, she's getting Sunset Point right now. So she goes, and there's some addicts in the house. She says, start the car. Get it started. I got to get down to the beach right now. And they say, well, just walk across the street. There's the beach. You know what I mean? She says, no, I got to go to Sunset Point right now. So there she goes. She walks down there. Meantime, we know he's waking up under the sand, on the sand going, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Flowbird walks down to the beach. She puts her hands on her hips like she always did. And she goes, okay, God, here I am. What do you need? Well, she's a weird-looking lady, let me tell you. She's got real long black-white hair, real skinny, aged, weathered out. I'd shown him a picture of Flowbird before he came to Hawaii. I said, this is the lady. He looks up and sees this lady. You can't mistake her. He looks up and there's this lady I told him about. He walks up, he can't talk. He's going, blah, 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 But she hears something about my name or something, and she goes, well, you're why I'm here, baby. Get in the car. Put your stuff in the car. That was 33 years ago this December, and he'll have 33 years clean. That's because someone dared to practice this 11th step. Someone dared to follow their heart, no matter what it meant. No matter if it meant moving into a house where you weren't supposed to be. No matter if it said, God said, go to Europe, go to Egypt by boat, she would go. No matter if it was, go live in a tent at the beach park, she lived in a tent at the beach park. And wherever she went, there was a meeting. You know, and that was about recovery. That's our job, to listen and be available. To let my friend, I'll quote him again, man, because he's gone ahead of me. He's helped me a lot. He used to talk about having people interfere in your life. You know, and I'll talk about this too. You know, we talked about working these steps because we're desperate. We talked about getting into service because we're desperate. And that's what we have to do in the beginning. I remember in this group, you know, Flowbird, I mean, wherever we were, people were attracted to our house. I'm an early, I like to go to bed early, get up early. You know what I mean? I used to suffer because we'd bring these drunks and addicts. There was no halfway houses, there was no treatment centers then. We'd bring people home, let them kick on our floor. And everybody would stay up and they'd be drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, which I never did. You know, those are stimulants. You know, I'm not drinking coffee, folks. I want to go to bed. You know what I mean? I'm tired, but I couldn't do it. I was guilt-ridden. You know what I mean? Because they're all 12-stepping, these people, letting them throw up on them, everything else. And you know, all I want to do is go to bed. But I did it because I wanted to stay clean. You know what I mean? But he used to always talk about having people interfere in your life, and I just cringe. I don't want people interfering in my life, but I know you got to, or I'm not going to stay clean. You know what I mean? So I would do it. You know, but I was a marathon runner, don't you understand? I got to get up in the morning and run 20 miles. Give me a break. If I was sleeping till 10, I wouldn't mind letting you interfere in my life, but God darn it, I'd get up early. You know what I mean? I was kicking and screaming. But I'd do it. And I'll tell you, many years ago, after I started working the steps again, around 12 or 14 years clean, something happened. And what became a part of my meditation every day, that I can clearly say, with my heart open, and with all the meaning and all the love in the world, God sent me someone to interfere in my life. That's my life today. And I spoke at a men's meeting one time and said that, and that's why I'm sponsoring one of the guys in the room right here tonight. Because he came to my house and he said, I heard you say you wanted people to interfere in your life. I think I got to wrap it up, but I just got to say, I don't do any of it today out of desperation. I work the steps. I'm in service. I'm still doing H&I. I sponsor men all over the world, and I do it because I'm motivated by love and joy. I am so excited, and I have so much joy and love in me, if I don't give it away, I'll burst. I am not doing it out of fear today. I'm doing it because I want to do it, because it's so exciting, because it's what we're on the planet for and nothing else. Nothing else. You know, on my birthday, the first phone call I got that morning was from a guy in India. You know, I got emails from all over the world wishing me happy birthday. I sponsor men all over the world. I have friends all over the world. You know? It's because I'm willing to give this thing away. My sponsees are my brother. I can't even tell you how loving it is, the relationship I have with my sponsees. It's the most fabulous thing you can, and I used to resist that. You know? And it's just so beautiful. But I just want to tell you, I love you all. And I thank you for letting me share at this meeting. And we've got another speaker. And I just hope you all know that God is loving us right now. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Tom. Wow, that was awesome. That's great.